Hello. I am a Candy Cadet. Come get your candy here. I have candy all day, every day. Candy. 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 And welcome to Candy Cadet Theory. This is definitely not a copy of game theory and it will never be, so be quiet. And today we're going to be talking about, what did Fredbear actually look like? Now that would be a stupid question, but some people say that Fredbear is a bit chubby, but what if I told you that was actually wrong? What if Ultimate Custom Night Fredbear is actually Fredbear?
But Candy Cadet, Fredbear is always depicted to be fat in the FNAF 4 minigames, and you are absolutely wrong.
Now, Fredbear is always depicted to be a big boy in FNAF 4. And he's also depicted as fat in FNAF 3. And his nightmare form is also a bit on the big boy scale. But what if I told you that his minigame depictions don't actually depict what he looks like? What if I told you he was actually not that fat? Now take a gander at Spring Bonnie in the FNAF 4 minigames. As we can see, he is actually a bit chubby. We can see the same in FNAF 3, but what does he actually look like in the games? This is an unused model in FNAF Help Wanted of Spring Bonnie. And as we can see, he is a bit slimmer than his minigame depictions. So what if it's the same as Fredbear? What if Ultimate Custom Night Fredbear is actually the real Fredbear that did the big bite of 83? You all out there might be asking the same to me too. But there's more proof of him actually being a bit more slimmer than his minigame depictions. Spoiler warning, by the way, this is a spoiler of the FNAF graphic novel The Silver Rise. As we can see here, Fredbear is actually just like Freddy Fazbear. Now I know you all would be asking, but the graphic novel trilogy isn't canon to FNAF game trilogy. Shut up and listen. I know that the graphic novel trilogy isn't canon to the FNAF games, but the depictions of Fredbear outside of the minigames are looking a lot like Freddy Fazbear from FNAF 1. Now back to Nightmare Fredbear. Yes, he is a bit fat and chubby. But that doesn't mean he's actually Fredbear. He's just a nightmare, he is not real. The nightmares could just be depictions of what the crying child saw Fredbear and friends like. So that's out of the way. Now let's get back to how Fredbear actually looks like. In FNAF 1 we see Golden Freddy, and we know Golden Freddy is actually Fredbear. But in FNAF 2, however, he is a lot different. And remember that FNAF 2 is a prequel to FNAF 1. But Spring Bonnie would look a lot different if that was the case. So Fredbear should look a lot like his partner Spring Bonnie. Hello everyone. Future Candy Cadet here. I forgot to mention the theory about there being a prototype suit. So there might actually be two suits because spoiler warning. The FNAF 2 movie suit of what is presumed to be Fredbear looks a lot like Golden Freddy. But the FNAF movie isn't canon to the FNAF games. Unless. So Fredbear in Ultimate Custom Night must be the real Fredbear. After all, as we can see in FNAF Help Wanted, Freddy is huge, really tall. And along with his mouth, it is big enough to fit a human frontal lobe inside. Now back to Ultimate Custom Night Fredbear, we can see that he looks a lot like Freddy Fazbear on FNAF 1. And Freddy Fazbear in FNAF Help Wanted is basically just Freddy Fazbear in FNAF 1. So Fredbear should have a big enough mouth to fit a human skull inside. So as we now know, Fredbear in Ultimate Custom Night is actually the real Fredbear. Thanks for watching, but we won't actually know what Fredbear looks like, since we have never gotten a real depiction of what he looked like in 1983. So we won't know what Fredbear would look like until we get a canon depiction of him in 1983. And after all of this is a theory.